Good evening, Razorback fans. Welcome to another episode of the Hog Talk podcast, presented to you by Vision Exteriors, live from the Sterling Soap and Roastery Studios, part of the Believe and Buzz Radio Network, where you can hear us each week on 106.7 Buzz 2 in Central Arkansas. All live shows are coming to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in downtown Ozark. I am Porter Hayes. Alongside me, as always, is Adam Hall. On tonight's show, we will break down Arkansas's exhibition games, talk some Mississippi State, and coaching news. But first, before we get into the thick of things, really want to give a shout out to the Derek's Outlaws for winning the $1 million T-Mobile 5G Friday Night 5G Lights competition. Just a little short of 2 million views, so 2 million votes. Watched the announcement this morning at 8 o'clock. It was really cool to see a town of 900, but yet it just showed you what we knew all along is when you really want to put your mind to it, rally the troops, get the whole state of Arkansas behind you and all 50 states around you, anything is possible.
Yeah, I don't know if they've put out or even thought of renderings or what this may look like, but I'm curious to see what they put out there. It's a big deal. To beat out everybody else, to go head to head with a much larger school in the final two, or however they calculate it. It's a big deal. So congratulations to them, and props to all the people, state of Arkansas and beyond, that went in daily and voted for them.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, my guy Cody Tedford went to Ozark together, and he got a lot of people to get involved. Houston Nutt, Darren McFadden, John Daly, Jeff Foxworthy, Ron White. It was funny to see the people that thought we were cheating, and it's like, no, this dude is very well connected, and you get that. But you're talking about the rendering. I know they had said that they're going to keep the field grass. They just want to make it more level. They want to update their press box, the concession stand. But then also, I don't know if it's included in the $1 million prize or not, but Gronk will make them their field house, their weight room. So that's included as well. But yeah, definitely when they get that done, it's going to be a big celebration down there in Derek's, Arkansas. But but yeah, we're going to switch things up. We've been talking football a lot, but we really want to. The explosiveness of this Arkansas basketball team, we already seen parts of the freak out mode from the fans in this Memphis game. And, in the first half, they were down, 28-14 at one point. And for you to win by 24, that shows you just how electric this team's going to be. I was listening to the radio. Richard Davenport was talking about this team's got 6 or 7 guys that can go at any time. And you've seen the spark that Malik Thomas gave Arkansas. That was in the Cincinnati game, to come out and score 28, I believe it was, in
23. Or wait, in the first game, I think he scored 18. And then in this Memphis game, he scored 23.
Yes, 23. But you have a lot of multiple, and that's what we've talked about. You have people in double-digit scoring. You in 15, Malik 23, Billy Richmond. I really like him. He's one of my favorite players. He just reminds me of a lot of different players back in the day. Carter Knox had 10. So you have any of these guys go off, it really helps, because when you get into these bigger games, you're going to have 4 or 5 guys scoring in double digits to fend off a big run. I think at one time Memphis went on a 7-0 run. So it's a game of runs, but I can't wait to see this team, what they're going to be like when SEC season rolls around.
This is a game and a team that I feel like Arkansas definitely needed to play early on. Memphis throws all types of different looks at you, stuff that, Arkansas doesn't necessarily prepare for and probably won't see again really until you get into SEC play. Yeah, we still have, our non-conference of Elite 8 teams and what have you, but the early on in the game really threw Arkansas for a loop. But you saw the adjustments, especially late in the first half into the second half. Malik Thomas is out here proving that there's no delay between high school and college for him. He is
Yeah.
fears nobody you put in front of him. And it's awesome to see. Billy Richmond, I just, man, you don't have to attack the rim so hard.
Yeah.
Whenever his landing and ending up on the floor, and the hard dunks where he looks like he's hurt his hand before, it's just kind of like, hey, just pump the brakes a little bit. We got a long season ahead of us. So, this was one game that, what was it? DJ Wagner in this game, he had what? 8 points.
Yeah.
It's one of those that at any time, that DJ Wagner, just like anybody else, can go off. I think that, him and Darius Acuff are finding kind of their balance with each other. And the team is too, when each of them are on the court separately or on the court together. This team hasn't gelled or, clicked yet. And that's kind of the dangerous part.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's exhibition game 2. Game 1 is this coming Monday against Southern. So this team has a long time ahead of them, and we have yet to see what they're fully capable of.
Yeah, they got the game against Southern, then they play Michigan State. And I'll say this, and what I love about where we are in the landscape, and this is what gets lost in the transition of NIL, transfer portal, you're really getting a good look at some of these teams early, and there was a lot of games played against ranked teams. And if you want to call them exhibitions, but they're not exhibitions. These are legit games. They don't count on the record, but Michigan State played UConn. I think, was it Kentucky that played Purdue?
Mm-hmm.
You had Duke playing I can't remember what the team was they played. Tennessee was playing. You're seeing a lot of good games going on early, and I think they need that. You talk about competing with the college football landscape and the college football playoffs, and then all of a sudden when you finally get into basketball, it's March Madness time. But now we're starting to get these games where, one, I know it might be a local thing because we're just over football season, that you're wanting to watch the basketball team. But I'm proud of all these teams. They're going out and playing legit teams because they know. You've seen it this past season in the NCAA tournament where your first round game, you better bring it or you're going home. This isn't cakewalk city anymore. These are what we're going to. I feel bad for the mid-majors because it's kind of trickled down to all these Power 4 conference schools are getting good. And, look on the flip side, the football side, Kennesaw State, first year, they're bowl eligible. I don't care what level they are. You seeing how quick programs are turning around now in football and basketball. Yes, it makes you wonder why not Arkansas, and we'll talk about that here in a second, but it does. I think it couldn't happen in the right time. We talked about that on Sunday about we're so glad basketball's here, but I'm very excited to be able to watch this team play.
Mm-hmm. And, right now is one of my favorite times of the year when basketball gets going, college and professional. So, this is something that I think the NCAA and these teams are getting it right early on with these exhibition games. Yes, they don't count, but then also you're seeing Elite 8 rematches across the board. I think almost all of the Elite 8 teams are playing each other in their non-conference schedules because they want to see where their teams are at before they head into their respective conference seasons. So that right there is starting to show you that, number one, the talent is getting better. Number two, you're having things even out across the board. And a lot of that, yes, is transfer portal and NIL. And it's something it's making for better basketball. I mean, like we talked about during March Madness earlier this year, those were better games from top to bottom than we have seen in years. Yeah, does that mean there's going to be less Cinderellas? It does. But at the same time, we're getting better games. And at the end of the day, you're putting a better product on the court. You got to kind of figure out which do you want more, a better all-around tournament or the hype around opening weekend, and then it just kind of fades and disappears after that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at a couple of teams right now. I'm looking at Duke's schedule right now. You play Tennessee exhibition, won 83-76. They play Texas. Then they play Kansas on November 18th. They play Arkansas on Thanksgiving. Then they turn around and play Florida, Michigan State, Texas Tech, Louisville, Florida State. That's Duke. And then you look at Michigan State. You're looking at, okay, so they lost to Connecticut. They got Arkansas, but then they play San Jose State. Then they play Kentucky in New York. Then they got North Carolina, Duke. I'm looking USC. I mean, that's just because of Musselman, but you're seeing a lot of these teams playing a lot of good opponents. And you talk about if people get tired of you're coming into that boring part of college football leading up to the conference championship and the college football playoff. What better way to do that? Because there's a big gap in between your SEC championship and the college football playoff. I think they're finally figuring it out where people can get involved in basketball and really give them something to watch other than the Poinsettia Bowl.
Yeah, because I mean, like you brought up Michigan State coming up right after Southern, and Arkansas's got Duke on Thanksgiving, Louisville, Texas Tech, Houston. I mean, we play Houston. It's our second to last non-con game before we head into. Yeah. I mean, we open up SEC play January 3rd against Tennessee. So, that's one of those that you've got to be prepared before that game. So we'll see what happens. But no, definitely the month of December, there's a lot of good basketball to bide a lot of our time during, like you said, the Poinsettia Bowl or the Texas Bowl or whatever's going on at that time.
Yeah, because, after Michigan State, Arkansas's got a little 4-game stretch where I think, all right, we started off with Cincinnati, Memphis. You got to play Michigan State. Then they got, Central Arkansas, Samford, Winthrop. Now, that's going to be a sneaky good game because Winthrop's always one of those teams that get in the tournament and make some noise. Then you got Jackson State. Then you go Duke, Louisville back-to-back. Then you play Fresno State, Texas Tech, then you got a game against Queens, and then you got to play Houston game. So it's like every other game after that stretch between, let's say so from Thanksgiving on, you're going, every other game's going to be tough until you get into January into college basketball season. So say what you want. Whoever wins the national championship this year definitely deserves it because you are, no matter what, this is they're going through a gauntlet and you're giving teams more games against better opponents. And if they're playing this good now early and you're getting them well seasoned, just think how good of a product we're going to have on the court come March Madness.
And it's one of those because, the tickets were sold out in the summer early again. I would hope that we don't see what we saw last season on these midweek games, only having 11 to 14,000 people. I know they still report the 19 because tickets were sold out, but these midweek games, if you can't go to it, give your tickets to somebody who can, because it's kind of defeating. And I don't feel like a great look, on a Wednesday night game that we've only got 12, 13,000 people in there. And I get it. We started the SEC season 0-5 last year, but at the same time, it's, show up for these guys. It's going to be a damn good team. I mean, this is top to bottom, I feel like a stronger team than we had last year. We made it to the Sweet 16. So this is something that you've got to show up for these guys.
When you're talking about that Memphis game, you're talking about wait till we click. I mean, you fell behind and then you still ended up winning by 20. I mean, it makes you wonder, okay, what happens when this team clicks? You're talking about just how talented they are and playing as a team. And then you look at reports there. Somebody asked Boogie Flan what the difference between, Florida and Arkansas, and he gave that cliche answer of how he likes the family feel there better. And I'm just like, okay, cool. That's how you feel. But Arkansas didn't, they upgraded as well. I think it's one of the things, if you're chasing the money and you want to chase the championship because they won it last year, cool. But don't be surprised if you're the one that's looking at Arkansas cut down the nets this year.
And, you know, I wish Boogie Flan nothing but the best. I wish last season had turned out differently for him, not getting injured. I know there's a lot of early, you know, different charts and stuff that have him atop the, you know, returning guards, returning players. I think Andy Katz had him number one returning sophomore in college basketball. And, you know, I just look at that like, I feel like a lot of that is hype. Because we didn't get to see a whole lot of them last year due to injury. But no, I wish nothing but the best. The only thing about going to play for the defending national champion is how difficult it is to win back to back. So that's going against you. And I kind of look at it more as running from the talent that was coming in more so,
absolutely. Well, and was it Walter Clayton Jr.? Was that his name, the guard last year for Florida?
Yeah, he's for the Utah Jazz now.
Here's the thing. Can you see Boogie really taking over a team? I mean, here and there, you can take over a game, but can you do it consistently? That's where, and this is just being completely honest. This is the difference between you making it to the Final Four or Sweet 16 and win a national championship. You got to get it in your mental headspace of taking over the team and putting them on your back all the time. And I'll use that to kind of segue into where we're at with the football program. That's the difference, in my opinion, on why Arkansas is struggling. Because whether or not Taylon Green's hurt, which we've said that it's going to come out at the end of the year of everything that was wrong with him to save face. But there's times where you got to drop your nuts and play. You got a week or how many ever days to recover. You know, this is your last chance to put on that Razorback uniform, and you need people to step up. And we're seeing it. And I know there was a lot of people who gave the defensive crap, but based on what you got from the defense and what talent you have at the defense, they did their job. You ask any coach, bend, don't break. You hold them to field goals. That is a win. If you have you're supposed to have the best offense in the country. And I just wanted to see more where you're wanting to step up. Your back is against the wall. And again, I said it a few weeks ago, it was like you put yourself in this corner and then you complain about, well, I had my bad game now. Well, it come at the worst time, because if you would have done things differently and not turned the ball over, or you could have won this game, it wouldn't have been so important to win the game that you needed to against Auburn, because I am honestly interested to see how many people show up on Saturday.
You know, I think it's kind of tough right now. It's kind of tough to gauge where fans are, because we're all over the place every day, you know, and it's different for me day to day. Even I'm still standing on the wanting a whole new regime change. That's not going to change. But it's funny kind of like reading through some of the comments, because I have been, especially when it comes to coaching search, a lot of the critique and whatnot of criticism of the team overall, I kind of ignore some of that because the season's done. So it's one of those things at this point. I mean, you're not going to go 4-0 to get to a bowl game.
Yeah.
These last 4 games. So the season's all but done. So when it comes to criticism of players and play calling and all that stuff, I don't buy into that. I've been more bought into the coaching search side of things. And I feel like after this last loss, the keep Bobby folks are getting a little bit quieter.
Yeah.
You still have yours that, I mean, Sunday we saw it in our show comments and on HQ Live's comments section. We had ours that were like, nope, hire Bobby. I get it. But I feel like that loudness of keeping him is diminishing a bit. And you're starting to see, especially with more of the names being thrown out. I mean, we're hearing that, I mean, there's been feelers, if you will, between Arkansas and James Franklin. And I know that there's folks out there that, you know, we've heard that don't want that. And the only thing I'll go back and say is, a lot of the folks that are saying like no to James Franklin, no to Rhett Lashley, no to Dan Mullen, et cetera, which I'm no to Dan Mullen. But the reasons why James Franklin can't win in big games, James Franklin this, I'm looking at the fact that James Franklin won back-to-back 9-win seasons at Vanderbilt before NIL, before transfer portals, and he was consistently a top 10 team, been to the college football playoff. So we're sitting here knocking down these resumes like we have something to stand on. And I'm just kind of like, it's one of those things outside of Brian Kelly, any of these guys, it's kind of like I would welcome with I'm not going to say open arms, but I would welcome these guys to come in.
Tough.
Brian Kelly?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
I do not
That's
want
what I
to
thought you were going with.
Oh,
I was
no.
like, hold on.
After what happened with Greg Brooks Jr. and just
We
the way
go back to what Lacey, even doesn't it go back even further back? Because there was a lot of people in the comments bringing up something way further back than that.
there's another
Then you had that
player
one kid that didn't get hurt, or he got hurt, and then or he was fine, and then when he got hurt, he never heard anything from coach.
It's one of those things that hearing these former players that have came out, seeing these former players that are happy. I mean, there was one quote, and I forget what player said it. Former LSU player, but not current. But he made a valid point. It's these players commit to LSU.
Yeah.
They don't commit to Brian Kelly. So that's one of those things that I 100% believe. But just hearing how these former players coming out and just talking about like the disconnect between Brian Kelly and his teammates or their teammates, and when times get tough, whether it's injury, whether it's what's happened with Greg Brooks Jr. and there being nothing. It's one of those things that I don't want you coaching this football team. I don't care how good of a coach you are. Go find somewhere else.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it came out that the LSU athletic director, they've been asked to not have a hand in this coaching search because this guy hired Brian Kelly and hired Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M. And those are two of the biggest buyouts we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's crazy, which these buyouts are out of hand. We've talked about that before. But no, I don't want Brian Kelly anywhere around the University of Arkansas.
Yeah, and I am honestly on the boat about James Franklin. And what we'll do, we're going to take a quick commercial break, hear a word from Vision Exteriors. When we get in, we'll deep dive into that because I really want to have a good conversation because I was looking at another coach's record, Big Ten, SEC, back to Big Ten, and I kind of want to use that for kind of that argument of, is the SEC, as much crap as they get, is it just that much tougher to win in this league opposed to the Big Ten? And we'll talk all about that after the break. Looking to enhance your home's curb appeal? Look no further than Vision Exteriors. As your trusted roofing, siding, and exterior experts, we're here to transform your property. Our skilled team ensures your job is not only functional, but also aesthetically pleasing. Along with roofing, we also offer window, gutter, and siding installation to boost your home's appearance with our quality options. Visit us at www.visionexteriors.com or call us at 479-397-4770. Let's make your vision a reality. And welcome back to the Hog Talk Podcast. I want to thank Vision Exteriors for the sponsor of the show. But, when it comes to James Franklin, it reminds, and I'm not comparing the two, it just gives me PTSD because when you look up Brett Bielema and what he did at Wisconsin, he had 1, 2, 3, 4. He had 2 11-win seasons, a 12-win season, and a 10-win season. He left after an 8-5 year. So consistently, his worst record at Wisconsin was 7-6. Then he comes to Arkansas, 7 wins, 8 wins, 7, 4, and the rest is history. Well, at Illinois, 8-5 second year. He dropped to 5-7, but then he turned around in 10-3. Now they're sitting at 5-3. It's, to me, you really honestly look at the depth of the Big Ten, and everybody gives the SEC shit for, oh, we have this many teams ranked, but to me, it is deeper. You can't sit there and tell me you line up 16 teams in the Big Ten and you line up 16 teams in the SEC. I don't think it would be close, Adam. I don't think it would be close in the amount of games that the SEC would win. And my biggest fear is, yes, he did good at Penn State. Yes, he did good at Vandy, but I also look at the year he was doing that at Vandy. Do you put a discredit by that? Because one, they were in the East, and two, the conference records, and I'm throwing in Wake because they had a home and home with Wake during this time, was 9-30 and 12-31 conference records. So it wasn't like they were blowing the doors off. I know it's Vandy. I know we're still talking about Vandy, but when I'm talking about coming to Arkansas and getting them to 9-10 win seasons because you're going to a 9-game SEC schedule, can he get Arkansas to that level? That's my thing.
I feel like he can because he can coach.
Yeah.
You know, he did this, like I said, at Vanderbilt pre-NIL, pre-transfer, all that. You know, we've discussed a little bit over the last couple of years, you know, when it comes to the Big Ten, the uprising of the Big Ten, you know, last 2 national championships, Big Ten. You look at the top 25 at any given time. I mean, you're basically split with upwards of close to 20 teams in the top 25 that are Big Ten and SEC. It's one of those, I think that he could do it. Here's the thing is, I go back to when we talk about these 9-win seasons, 10-win seasons here at Arkansas, we throw this out there like we're used to that.
Yeah.
We throw this out there like 10 wins is a common thing, and it's not at the University of Arkansas, or at least it's not in the SEC since the SEC days. So I'm looking at it more of the line of, can he get us consistently to 8 and possibly 9 wins? Can we, you know, like we've talked about previously, it was either with Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered, or it may have been Jake Crane of Crane & Co. But when we talked about, you know, this goes for any school, any conference. In retrospect and reality, these coaches need to be on 3-year deals. Within those 3 years, you need to be in the conversation for the playoffs. Doesn't mean you make the playoffs, but you need to be in the conversation of it within every 3 years. And I think that, you know, you get to 8 and 9 wins consistently, you'll be in that conversation of the playoffs. And then you hope to be in that 9 to 10 wins to get you into the playoffs before it, you know, because we know it's going to expand at some point. So I think that James Franklin can do it. It's one of those things, whoever comes in, whether it's James Franklin or whether it's somebody else, you're going to have NIL backing. There's no way around that. So,
and I think that's another thing where Bobby Petrino screwed that up because of his 10-11 win seasons, because you're pretty much saying what Brett Bielema did at Arkansas. And the first time that he got to 4-8, I mean, it's like everybody talks about Chad Morris, Mike Anderson. That's bull crap. Brett Bielema and Mike Anderson was the same, because you got complacent and you were getting to them to that 7-8, but you wanted more. You could never get to that 9. And now you're saying, I'm not saying you personally, but people would kill for the 7-8, but we went through that with Brett Bielema. What's going to happen now that you're tasting the fact that 16 teams can make the playoffs? You have NIL. Can he get to the point to where, okay, we want you flirting with that 7-8 wins, but has that expectations went up now because we're seeing the SEC be wide open? Look at LSU losing their coach, and you're seeing Florida, you're seeing Kentucky. Auburn's not the same. I mean, What's Ole Miss's ceiling with Lane Kiffin? Where's Tennessee at with Heupel? Can we get a guy that can come in and like you said, consistently get us in the conversation to be in the college football playoff? And I think the bar has been raised because you look at Bielema, 14, 7 wins, 15, 8 wins, 7 wins. So you're flip-flopping there. And then 2017, you had the 4-8 year, and then all hell broke loose, and we got Chad Morris and Sam Pittman. And, outside of 21, we haven't even seen an 8-win season since. We haven't seen but one 9-win season. I'll go 8 just for argument's sake in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where my biggest reservation is with James Franklin, because, all right, is he going to get you a quarterback that can come in and compete in the SEC and get you those 8 wins? You're looking at the quarterback situation he has at Penn State. It's just not been that sexy. Who is going to come in the SEC? Because you're seeing Vandy now. I want to see how they act next year after Pavia's gone, because you see all the hype, but next year they could totally go back to where they were. And that's another reason why when everybody's talking about Clark Lee and the job he's doing, okay, but we talk about all these coaches, Jimbo Fisher, Dabo Swinney, that have made huge careers off of quarterbacks. And once that star is gone, now let's see what he can do in building a program.
And, I get the part about the quarterback thing. But at the same time, I'm still in the boat of, if you have a game manager, because we've seen it, the likes of Alabama, Georgia you get a game manager quarterback, you can win, you can succeed. Because I'm also looking at, let's look at who else James Franklin has had: Saquon Barkley, Micah Parsons, Chris Godwin. So these are, it's one of those Jahan Dotson. Like he still gets talent. So I think if you can find a game manager quarterback, then you can win. I mean, if you bring in the likes of a Saquon, I know getting somebody like Saquon Barkley, that's rare. But I look at it too, like if you come to a school like Arkansas, who has the running back history that we have, and then you can add on top of that the likes of, you've had Saquon. I think that helps you in that scheme of things if you wanted to run more of, a ground and pound run style, whatever. I still think that this has to be a thing, though. It's one of those, we say Bobby Petrino loves 50-50, 50 pass, 50 run, but we've seen way too many times that he gets away from the run. So I think this is something that I'm not against it. I'm not completely sold on it. At the same time, I'm not completely sold on Rhett Lashley. And a lot of that has to do with the unknown. And I still have PTSD of a head coach from SMU coming to Arkansas.
Mm-hmm. Well, who was it that put out there? Was it North Texas? They have the most high potent offense, but their coach's last name's Morris. It's the same thing. I know when it comes to, and we're already hearing smoke about Tyson getting involved with the hiring. It's going to take that and somebody to come in and know that we need a change, because when you look at the two programs, and a part of it too is I just don't think James Franklin's coming, because honestly, you're set. You got $50-60 million in your pocket or whatever with the buyout. Virginia Tech's knocking. They're putting millions and millions of dollars into their athletic program. You're going to get the NIL backing, and you're in the ACC. Let's not forget. You turn things around where SMU year one was playing for an ACC championship. Clemson's fallen off. They're no longer irrelevant because of their coach. He pissed that away. Pissed me off, but I'm one of them fans that, I got to witness my 2 national championships. I will rock Clemson till I die, but I'm also a realist. I'm not going to sit there and say next year is going to be the year. He pissed that away. But you got to have coordinators. Who's going to come in and help you build? And everybody, you brought up a great point. I can't remember if it was on our show or Hog HQ. You're talking about Bobby Petrino. Are you going to get a good enough defense? Everybody's saying if you give Bobby Petrino a defense, is he going to do this? Well, is he? And that's yet to be seen. So you're taking a big risk because you can't get any further behind these SEC teams than you already are. You need to know that you're going to get a guy. Maybe that is a safe bet. Maybe you do go with Franklin because you know he can come in and get you to that 8-9 wins. I don't have the confidence in Bobby Petrino because, damn it, that game against Auburn, 0-4 at home. I know the weather was crappy, but that was the moment that you should have shined, and it was on your offense's fault. Your wide receivers weren't running their correct routes. Shout out to DJ Williams for his breakdowns of some of the throws we thought was Taylor Green's fault, and you're looking at how the receivers was running, but that was your game to shine. And the importance of knowing that if you want Bobby to be the coach next year, that was an important game to win, because my biggest fear, and I said it, you're going to do just enough to get him hired. Does a win at Mississippi State give him the job? You don't know. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want it to be by chance. I don't want it to be because their back's against the wall and they don't think they can get anybody else. We're just going to give it to Bobby, because I don't think he's going to get it done. I do not trust him enough to get Arkansas to a consistent 8-9 win seasons at Arkansas.
No, I mean, this is something, and I know that there's been folks that, and a lot of it's the defenders of Bobby that, oh, these are Pittman's players. These are this, these are that. And to hell with all that.
Yeah.
This is Bobby's offense.
Mm-hmm.
Because guess what? Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that we want to move the goalposts and say, oh, well, these are all Sam's players. No, Bobby Petrino recruited that offense. He recruited those players out there.
He recruited Taylor Green. Yeah, this is year 2. And that's the point I brought up about the whole O-line thing. And he's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer, offensive guru. You put up 20-something points against Auburn. I don't care if the defense was better. There's still an 0-4 in the SEC at the time. You just went toe-to-toe with all these ranked teams, and then you let unranked Auburn team beat you worse than those other teams. And it was on the offense's fault.
Mm-hmm. I don't have the highest of hopes. I honestly, after this last week, I guess really since Saturday, I feel like it's less and less likely that we see Bobby Petrino return to Fayetteville next season. And that's just my gut reaction after the things that we're hearing throughout this week. I just feel like it's one of those diminishing thoughts and feelings that's not coming just from me, but up on the hill too.
And I think that's another reason why James Franklin's not going to be the coach, because that's the name right now. When has that ever worked out?
Oh yeah. No,
I mean, and I really am. If it does come down between Virginia Tech, Arkansas, I think he bolts for Virginia Tech because it's an easier path to the goal. The goal is a college football playoff. Do you want to come in your first year to the SEC in a 9-game season where you're 14th, 15th, however, whatever ranking you, some might say 16th best team in the SEC, and have to get to the top 4? Or you go to the ACC where all you got to do is possibly beat a couple of teams and you're in the top 4, or you're in the running for an ACC championship and you get an at-large bid for the college football playoff. And the gauntlet's tough. You don't have to run that series of gauntlet. And I'm sorry, you could beat your chest on the gauntlet all you want. The end goal is getting to the national championship. And if you go through the ACC and Clemson did it, they played in the ACC. They beat Alabama, but they played they played 3 SEC schools a year if you count the playoffs. And they played a home and home against the SEC team very first year. They had South Carolina, and they ended up beating Alabama twice in the national championship. But the end goal is the same. You want a national championship. So I get it when you're talking about you get to play in the SEC. That's a lot of pride, but that's a lot of pride for the ones that never get there. That's all they have right now, is saying we're in the SEC, because they're not the ones getting to that pinnacle. They're not the ones getting to the SEC championship games. They're not the ones getting to the college football playoff. the coat riders of saying that they're in the SEC.
Well, something Virginia Tech has been open and upfront about is whoever they end up hiring. Hey, here's all of our renovations that are going to happen to everything in football, plus your NIL backing, plus whatever salary you're giving. So whoever's coming into Virginia Tech, I mean, they're going to have some money to work with, and at the same time, it's one of those things that because of James Franklin's buyout, which I know that like whatever he gets, it's one of those that will deduct from his buyout with Penn State. So, but at the same time, it's kind of like, hey, that money that they're not spending on you, I mean, y'all could negotiate it to pay you a little bit less if we needed to put that money to NIL or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So Virginia Tech's doing it right by being open about what they're going to be offering, any head coach possibility.
Who was it? Wake Forest, that video you sent me about the town. You sent me a video about a town.
I believe it was Wake Forest that they're putting in or whatever, like a $250 million multi-use like entertainment type district, retail restaurants or whatever around their stadium.
So if that is true, if it is legit true, you think about you're doing something like what they got in Oklahoma City and what they're doing with the new arena where it was in Bricktown. You're building a whole
Cleveland Browns are doing it. A lot of these Chicago Bears, what they're going to be doing on their new stadium, Washington Commanders, they're doing these entertainment multi-use districts now.
So think about this. You win NIL. What can we do for you other than not only you be a big booster to our infrastructure, our team, we're going to develop a whole town to where you can come in and guess what? Make money. So you can keep giving us money. And I love Oklahoma City. I love Bricktown. It's one of my wife's and I's favorite spots to jump on Interstate 40 and go over 3.5 hours and have a good weekend. If that clicks, if that goes down, granted, it's going to probably take 5, 6, 7 years to complete all this. But just think where they're going to be. And you see how landlocked Arkansas is, but they can kind of do something similar because Dixon Street's just right behind the stadium. But that is a brilliant idea. It's almost like you wish, because it does take so long to develop, you wish they would have, if I would have been in that committee, I'd be like, hey, let's start building it and then talk. Let's keep a lot of that hush hush.
Let's break ground and get everything approved before we start. See, that's the thing with Arkansas too, is I felt like if they tried to jump on board with trying something like that, you'd have to jump through so many hoops just to get things passed because a lot of people don't like change. But at this point, you have to be progressive. You have to think outside the box, and colleges taking a page out of professional sports playbooks for these multi-use districts. I mean, and then the thing is too, is you're bringing in jobs for a lot of these college kids too, whether it's restaurants, retail shops, whatever it may be. Like you're doing a lot more than just opening up some storefronts.
When you get a chance, I don't know if you've seen it yet. We went up and watched Alabama Shakes concert up there at the Momentary in Bentonville and what Walmart done to that campus. You think it's just a campus for Walmart. It's like that. It is a huge development. Ripes Barbecue had a place up there. They had stores, fronts and stuff. It wasn't just a Walmart thing. But, leave it to Arkansas. If they did that, hell, it would be Chick-fil-A's, 7 Brews, and Dollar Generals. They wouldn't take it serious. I mean that's all you would have.
They could take a page out of, Fort Smith's playbook and put the new Chick-fil-A next to an adult store and see what happens. But,
I mean, hey, that's the thing, so, and, that's why you go there on a Sunday because Chick-fil-A's not open that day. So, you can have your Christ Krispies and your Cheez-Its and, all the stuff.
Yeah. Arkansas, though, they would have to, I mean, in a sense, would you approach Walmart in that aspect? If you were the university and you wanted to do a multi-use district?
You could, because if you think about it, if you go up there, if you ever get a chance, you get bored one Sunday or whatever, go up there and because I think the people who haven't seen it yet don't realize just how massive this thing is. Have you been to Bricktown in Oklahoma City?
Mhm.
Okay, that's the Walmart campus.
Mhm.
It's a whole huge district, and it's corporate buildings and gyms and storefronts, and it is amazing to see that whole. I love going up there to that area, the Bentonville off the square, and all the bars and the restaurants they have. But yes, I mean, you think about Tyson, and you get these people, ArcBest, the company down here in Fort Smith,
Mhm.
that's you get people like that. You get Crossland, you get these big industrial companies, Manhattan Road and Bridge. You get all these industries that you tell them, not only are you going to donate to NIL or get this thing rolling, we're going to allow you to put infrastructure in here and make residual income. So guess where the money is that they're going to give to your university? It's going to be profits off of that stuff that's on campus.
All about returns on interest
Yep.
or investments.
So I mean, we'll see. I want to follow that Wake Forest deal and see how that, if we're still doing this when I'm 50, but we'll see. You never know. Believe in it, So
We'll see what happens.
Adam, you have anything else?
Nope, I don't. Lamar Jackson returns for the Baltimore Ravens tonight, so let's just
All
hope
right.
that there's a win.
Well, Matt wanted us to make this an extra long show tonight, so sorry we're not. We're going to get Adam out of here so he can watch his Ravens play. And again, Arkansas, Mississippi State. I didn't look at the lines. I think it's still 4.5 or whatever, but 3:15, the game time.
Mm-hmm.
So that just kind of shows where we're at on the football game. I know it's Saturday when they play. That's all that matters. We'll see if they win or lose. But for Adam Hall, I'm Porter Hayes. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Think of all of our sponsors, Vision Exteriors, Believe Network, and we will catch you on Sunday.